Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about the Ventrac and specifically the Toughcut mower and the fine cut flail mower. I've owned and operated a Ventrac now for about 4 years. I have about 300 hours in total. I started with a 4500K model, which was an excellent tractor. I know it gets a bad rap for being an air-cooled engine, but personally I never had any problems with it. I put about 100 hours a year on the mower, mowing several acres at my own residence, and then I mow a couple other yards for family and friends, and have put it through its paces pretty well. The reason I'm comparing the flail mower and the Toughcut is because I'd like to answer the questions of is the cut of the flail mower worth the extra expense, and does the flail mower have a place in the mowing fleet for the private landowner if you've already got a Toughcut mower. The whole idea here is that the flail mower falls somewhere in between a finish mower and the Toughcut, because it gives you the ability to cut yards or areas on a less frequent basis than you would finish cut, and possibly a more frequent basis than you would use the Toughcut, but still get near finished look with striping of the yard due to the large rear roller on the flail mower, and a finer mulched material, especially out of the fine cut flail. I'm sure as many people know who may be watching this, Ventrac makes two flail mowers. They make the fast cut flail, which uses a Y knife and more of them, so I think 72 on the rotating drum, and the fine cut flail, which uses a scoop knife, which is about a 2.5 inch cupped knife, cutting knife, and it I think uses 30 or 32, or about half basically of what the fast cut flail uses. We're going to be comparing the performance and specifications of the Ventrac fine cut flail 72 inch MW720 mower to the HQ682 Toughcut mower. So I've seen a fair amount of videos comparing the specifications. I won't talk a ton about the specifications of these two mowers. What I'm more interested in for my application is, is there a justification to have the fine cut flail over the Toughcut, and if so, how significant of a factor is it? So I'm going to be taking a look at things like speed of mowing in the same conditions, how well the machine handles the mower, because the fine cut flail is quite a bit heavier than the Toughcut, and then also, of course, the finish, and then the conditions of the grass, a week or two after, because as probably everybody knows, one of the advantages of the flail mower is that it does a better job mulching the material, whereas the Toughcut is going to lay down longer strands of grass, which is going to lay on top and decompose on top of the grass underneath, kind of giving you some brown grass look. I'm going to try to do some tests in different environments and different conditions, and all these will be conducted on the 4520P, which is the Kawasaki digital fuel injection engine. I've had this mower specifically for about 6 months, and it has about 38 hours on it. And prior to this machine, I had a 4500K for about 3 years, which performed great. And then for a short period of time, I had a 4500Z, the Kubota gas, which was fine. One of the elements that I did want to measure in this testing was the mower speed while mowing with the Toughcut and flail cut. And to my surprise, the Toughcut enabled the tractor to move a little bit faster through the grass than the flail cut. And in case it's not clear in the instrument, I posted what I considered to be the average speed with each mower. And for reference, even though I run full throttle, it's been my experience that there will be RPM lag when under load with these bigger mowers. And so I commonly accept 3200 to 3400 RPM range, even when at full throttle while mowing through this dense grass.
This is an overview of our second cut area, whereas the lower sections here were cut with the Toughcut mower and the upper few stripes were cut with the Flail cut mower. The same as we looked at on the earlier section, we can see longer strands and less striping in the Toughcut area, and shorter strands of material and a little bit more pronounced striping in the Flail cut area. This is that same area from the other direction, and as you can see from a distance, the cut looks very, very similar and uniform, with just slightly more pronounced striping in the upper flail cut area.
All right, so here is our measurement of our cut swaths from the two mowers. This is the Toughcut swath, and of course, because the tires stick out just a little bit further than the Toughcut mower, you get a couple inches smashed down on either side of your cut swath. And in this case, we've got basically 5 foot exactly for our cut swath. Now we'll check over here on our flail cut. All right, in this case, you'll also notice some blades of grass smashed down. Those are not from the tractor wheels. Those are actually from the casters on the front of the flail mower. They ride just outside of the flail cut, and that is so that the flail has full access to the grass that it's cutting. So there's where one edge is, and I would call the other edge about right here, 65, 66 inches. So, you know, the Toughcut is said to be a 68-inch mower, but in reality, it's going to give you a cut about 5 foot wide. And the flail cut mower 720, the MW 720, is a 72-inch mower, and it's going to give you about a 66-inch cut. I have already done some cutting with both mowers on this hillside here, and I want to show this from a distance. You can see the uncut area. This is early May 2025, and this hillside had not been cut yet this season, and so you can see the height of the uncut grass in comparison. The first couple swaths on this bank right here, I cut horizontally across the slope, and I cut with a fine cut flail, and then the next couple swaths above that were cut with the Toughcut. At a glance, it basically looks the same, and I would say that the cut quality of the grass underneath probably is. Where you start to get into the difference is the clippings. This was cut with the fine cut flail, whereas in this row we've got longer, stringier grass. Now, of course, the longer the season goes on and the higher the grass gets between cuts, that's where the length of the material really starts to matter. For instance, here was some taller grass cut with the Toughcut, and you can see, you know, we've got 14 to 16 inch blades of grass, whereas right in the same area on the slope of the hill, you know, we're talking about a couple inches, maybe 6 inches at most. Now, coming over to this part of the hill, I cut in a different pattern. One of the other advantages of the fine cut flail is the striping capability. So I did 3 passes with the fine cut straight up and down this hill, and you can see where that large rear roller stripes very nicely, and you can see where there's virtually no clippings present here. And part of that, this is probably a little thinner grass right here. It had not been cut either, but this is just an area of the hill that a couple times through the winter gets driven up and down, so maybe the grass doesn't grow quite as well. Compare that to these 3 stripes cut with the Toughcut, and again, you can see that the grass underneath is essentially identical, but what's different is lack of striping and more material laying on top. Now, in addition to reviewing the cut from a week of time that's pass by now. I'm going to do some additional testing, cutting at a lower height with the flail mower. I think I pointed this out at the beginning that the Toughcut's lowest cut is 3.5 inches, but the flail cut will go all the way down to 1 inch. And so what I'd like to see is what the cut quality and the clipping dispersion looks like if you cut with the flail mower a little bit lower. I think 3.5 inches it's the number 11 setting on the on the adjustment, and it goes to 17, so it's just a little bit over half the height. I would think that would give it a pretty good cut, but we'll take a look at a lower level, probably around 2.5 inches. I can't imagine needing or wanting to use the flail mower to cut all the way down to 1 inch, which is its lowest setting. I have a finish mower for that. It's an 83 inch, it's the contour mower. And you know, as a side note, I can't say enough good things about that mower, especially on uneven ground. Like my property is, it does an excellent job of riding with the terrain and cutting, very clean. And because of the rear roller system and the rear discharge, it does a great job of dispersing clippings and striping the yard. I consistently get comments from the neighbors that pass by and comment on the striping. So I know it's not just me that thinks that it does a great job. And I know it gets a bad rap, that mower deck gets a bad rap for maintenance, but in 3 years of owning it, I've done very little to no maintenance on it. I'm pretty hard on it because of some of the places that I take it, and it's been great. I bought it used. I don't know that, I think having the experience that I've had with it, I would have a hard time not paying the extra money for it. If I was re-outfitting myself and didn't have any of this equipment, knowing what I know, I believe I would pay the extra money and buy the contour mower for my finish mowing. But the thing I'll say about it is I bought it used. It was in excellent condition. I got an amazing deal on it. And from watching Marketplace and some other outlets, I think that if you're interested in a contour mower, you can pick one up for nearly half price in pretty good quality. And I can't say enough good things about the cut quality that it gives. Since one of the purposes of buying and wanting to test a flail mower is to see what kind of cut quality I can get on a less than weekly basis from a mower like this, it wouldn't do me much good to go back over the areas that I've already cut just a week later. And so I do plan to follow up with another video and another review of what the cut quality is on the second and third cut when you wait 3 or 4 weeks. I think that's where, in my opinion, that's what this flail mower really is kind of targeted at being able to do. If you wanted to cut weekly, then I would just recommend use a finish mower. Contour deck or 72-inch side or rear discharge would be fine. But if you don't want to have to cut every single week and deal with an excessive amount of clippings, then can you get a good looking cut quality out of the flail mower and have it look a little bit better than the Toughcut? And so I feel like I need to wait a few weeks in order to see what that difference is going to look like when the second cut is made, and if those mulchings and clippings, if they get mulched up a little bit better on that second and third time. All right, so here we are a week later after the initial cut with the Toughcut and with the flail mower. Kind of to my surprise, the clippings, even though they are finer from the flail mower, are just as much on top of the ground as with the longer strands from the Toughcut. And so you can kind of see as I get in line with the cut, you can see the striping that was done with these three. You got 1, 2, 3 cuts with the flail mower, and you can see the finer clippings here. And then as you move up here, we've got 1, 2, 3. So still, as I said before, just a little bit of striping that gets done with the Toughcut, but much longer strands of clippings. And you can actually, if you look, I don't know if you can see it on film, but you can kind of see where the heavier, longer strands does kind of kill the grass a little bit underneath. And then as you move to this section here, you've got three cuts with the Toughcut, and then moving over to here, you've got 3 cuts with the flail mower. So the striping advantage of the flail mower is obvious. As I stated before, this section right here that I cut with the flail mower was a little bit lighter grass, and so that's why you don't see nearly as many clippings in general here. I don't think it did necessarily exceptionally better with the clippings here as it did over here, but I think it was just lighter to start with. All right, and on this section of ground here with the heavy side slope, the upper passes, 3 or 4 of them were with the flail mower. Pretty evident to see that striping through there, and then the lower 3 or 4 were with the Toughcut. And again, you know, as you look over the entire area, the striping stands out as an advantage to the flail mower, but I don't see a significant difference in the dispersion or the lack of clippings in the flail mode section. And down here in these passes, these were where I did a single pass to measure the cut width. And I should point out that this is an extremely dense area of grass, and that is because you can see the little drain down there, but where I'm standing, water kind of channels down this little drain and kind of flows openly, even though it's not in a stream bed. It just kind of flows across the section of meadow, and so this grass is extremely dense. And you can see even a week later it's starting to grow back pretty good. So a lot of water gets funneled down through here, and this time of year especially. It's not only tall, but it's really dense underneath. One thing that's definitely worth pointing out is that the Toughcut in heavy thick grass, even though it does a good job cutting, will leave strands sticking up. And you can kind of see, I mean, this grass is certainly growing right now, but you can kind of see right here and out here, you can see where pieces were missed out in that little strip right there, and that's kind of between that outer blade and the center blade, kind of where they overlap. It's easy to miss some. The flail mower did a lot better job in that regard, but there again you can see just how dense the grass is in this section right here, even in comparison to further down in that stripe. And this also, now a week later, shows a little bit better that cut width, where the Toughcut will knock down, the tires will knock down on the outside of the Toughcut swath, whereas the tires kind of run even with the flail cut swath. So